Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Neil Calvert. I'm the Chief Exec and founder of LINQ. We're a software company based in Wellington, New Zealand. Our platform helps organizations understand the impact of change before they commit any money to doing an implementation. And we have a partner program, which means we've got partners in New Zealand, Australia, the United States, and now Europe. Because welcome to Marios, Leon. Marios, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you, Neil, for the introduction and for inviting me to this webinar. Very happy to be the first partner in Europe. My background is in digital transformation. I have been in the IT industry for more than 12 years. And the last few years, I've helped with businesses with their digital transformation using a technology called RPA, Robotic Process Automation, for those who don't know what RPA stands for. And we needed the solution in order to be able to map our processes prior to diving into automation, and hence the search and the collaboration with Neil and LINQ.
Marios, the topic today is model before you automate. And then we've taglined it, the missing step in digital transformation. So I thought the first thing we should probably do is just like put our cards on the table around a quick definition around what digital transformation means to us, and also what automation means as well, because I think it'd be really useful to just give people what we think when we say those words. So maybe you kick off. What does digital transformation mean for you?
Sure. Basically, digital transformation is when a business tries to digitize what they would manually do. This can be improving operations that they manually did on their workstation, hence using technology like RPA, or even digitizing and using digital applications in order to do tasks that they would manually do up to that point. I mean, pen and paper. That would involve voices or other stuff that they could note keeping, calendars, whatever. Digital transformation is basically utilizing technology and applications and other tools that they can use in order to make their processes more efficient, become more productive, in order to have three wins: save money, save time, and also be more efficient and lower their mistakes on the tasks that they perform.
Excellent. So I'll give my flavor to that as well. So when I think about digital transformation, I actually don't believe it needs to be a huge thing. I think a lot of people believe because we say the word transformation, it's a massive program of work. You have to have this great big thing going on. It's over multiple years. I actually like to think of digital transformation as being anything that enables digitalization of the way that you work inside an organization, and the size is irrelevant. And I also think that the terms process improvement and continuous improvement, they kind of all wrap up into digital transformation as well. The key thing is we are using technology as an enabler in order to help an organization move from potentially a low level of digitalization to a higher level of digitalization, and it's a journey. So and then automation for me is using appropriate tools, I think, to remove mundane tasks from people. Most of the work we find ourselves doing with LINQ is helping organizations understand how they can take those administrative tasks away from people, which typically involve managing data. A lot of the stuff I see is people manipulating things in Excel or having to transpose content from one system to another, or they've got a bit of shadow IT that they've brought into the business, and it's not integrated in any way, and they realize that they need to enable themselves to do better work, more valuable work rather than this mundane stuff. So that's kind of where I like to put my pin in those two things.
Basically, you covered three aspects, three topics, which are interlinked together. There is the data, there is the process mapping, and there's also the handling. So we use the process mapping in order to decide how we're going to handle our data. And this is where automation comes in. Once we have all this group together and we'll have taken those decisions, how we can then move to the next step.
Excellent. So that's a great segue to my next question for you, which is how should an organization approach looking for automation, and where does modeling fit into that timeline?
Well, I believe that modeling is one of the core things that an organization has to think about when they start discussing about automation. They should start by mapping and modeling their processes to get a baseline where they currently are. This helps them identify what can be automated, but also, apart from what can be automated, it's very important to think about what should be automated. Get to see what this modeling can show to the business, how those processes interact and where value is created and how change will ripple through the organization if we proceed with this kind of automation. There are very multiple scenarios that businesses dive into automation because they want to automate a task, but they haven't calculated first if it's important and if it's a priority to be automated.
So talk a bit more about the modeling aspect. You know, when we say we need to model the organization, what do we actually mean? Some people might be thinking, am I building a three-dimensional model of the building that I operate in? You know, other people might be thinking of Visio, you know, and building a just focused on process. So you know, what do you mean when you say we should model the business before we start to think about implementation of automating tasks?
Well, I believe that there is a very important aspect to have a picture of what currently is happening to the business. So it's very common for people that are doing this in their daily jobs to know by heart their tasks, but they haven't visualized them. They don't know which applications interconnect with others, what things and data have to do with one another, and if we create a model, a map of what's happening in the business, they can get a better understanding and even understand waste, either of time or for other aspects in the business, like dragging data with them, which is capacity of
so you're talking about then like an integrated model that is looking at not only what people do, but the data that they require to be able to do the work they do, but also quantification of the process, because you've talked about you know, trying to identify value and cost and time, and an automation should remove some of those things or increase value. So is that what drew you to LINQ in the first place?
The first thing that drew me to LINQ was the ease of use, the way that you can handle all those that we have already mentioned easily, and you can have a very nice picture of what the tasks that you're performing are, how your data are being processed, and visualize in order to get your model.
Okay, excellent. Just
and
yeah,
I'll leave you to go through the AI solutions that you are offering as well.
Yeah, I don't want this to be necessarily a sales pitch for LINQ, but the thing that we found as an organization before we built the platform was that a lot of modeling that was available to the business analyst or the Lean Six Sigma professional, the digital transformation team, if that existed inside the organization, was still very much focused on actions only, on processes. You know, business process modeling is the thing that everyone seems to think about, but it only focuses primarily on the task that is being undertaken. And you can use the swim lane to denote the system, or you could use the swim lane to denote the role. But there wasn't necessarily any data behind the model. You might get standard operating procedures with some of these platforms. And absolutely, it's improving with the advent of AI into everything. It's becoming less common to have these kind of static diagrams. But we really understood that if we could quantify and qualify the work that was being done and could deliver insights about that current state, so the benchmark, it makes the next step, which is the identification of the opportunities to do things differently, much, much easier. And then you can integrate that into the modeling as well. And the result is you start to deliver return on investment, or you help the organization understand what success looks like. So now you've got that guiding star when you start to do your automation. You're focused on the positive outcome, and the context is fully understood because the picture, the diagram, is end to end. So you get this holistic view of your organization as opposed to isolating on a process, which you might then do work on and transform independently from the rest of the business, and you just create downstream negative consequence to the change. And we have seen many change programs and digital transformations fail over the years for that very reason. So that's kind of that was our perspective on why LINQ was built in the first place. So tell me what you think the likely outcomes are for an organization if they don't do a modeling exercise and they just jump straight into automating something, because you must have seen that, right?
Definitely, and it's one of the most common reasons that automation might fail. And it's very easy to blame the automation, but we have to consider what other aspects could have caused this automation not to be a successful project sometimes. So beginning, we can think of what if we try to identify actually what the model is, what our operations are, we can select a process that doesn't require to be automated or isn't that important to be automated. So what I'm trying to say is it's very important to find and spot the inefficiencies and bottlenecks in the day-to-day operation, which is the requirement or the top priority, if you want, to automate in those scenarios. Also, it's very important to map and model your operations in order to have a very clear view of what we're going to gain if we automate something. If you start automating something and you haven't gotten the full picture, there is no clear view of the budget and the ROI in the end of the automation. And sometimes the business owners will feel that this technology doesn't work, but the thing is that they have selected something that shouldn't be automated in the first place. Or it could be even automated in a different way. First, we can model, alter the steps, remove some steps, add some different ones, introduce a new technology in there, and then we can move on to automating, and we can select the tools at a later state. Also, it's a very common issue is that organizations often misses to the chance to compare the current and the future state and don't have qualitative or quantitative data in order to see if they get the real benefits or not. In short, I think that without modeling, transformation lacks directions and credibility, and it becomes just one more tool that we are using without having a very good plan.
Okay, so you used a term there, which I want to dig into a bit more, because you talked about identification of bottlenecks. So have you got examples of how you can identify them? Obviously, the model can help us, but there's also an element, I guess, of your experience of understanding the business at quite a deep level to be able to, really start to point at the issues and therefore the opportunities in the organization. So maybe just touch a bit on how we can identify those bottlenecks and the opportunity that they represent to resolve.
Well, you must know that as well through the integration that you have done with your customers, bottlenecks reveal themselves when you map the process end to end. It's something that you realize when you have the clear picture of what's happening in the business. So we start with, I personally do it with the shadowing. I just talk with employees and I follow their process, follow what they do in their day-to-day in order to be able to configure and create that map using LINQ, and look for areas where work piles up, decisions take too long in order to proceed to the next step, or where we see that there are frequent errors that cause the business to derail and have to lose their focus in their strategic vision. Also, there are scenarios that we are not talking just about problems. There are opportunities to unlock value. So there are cases that we might have a very good operations up to now, and the process might be very well structured. But the scenario is that we can improve that and gain value if we introduce some new tools. So this is a very good way. Modeling is a very good thing in order to have the option to identify where those values will arise.
Yeah, one of the key things I look for is where the human is the integrator. So when you see a person where and in the model you can clearly identify where the system changes and where the system is enabled to change because there's a person sat there who is taking content from one system and inputting it into another, and it needn't be a direct in the supply chain. It may not be a direct dependence between the two. There could be a third system in between the two, which is the data integration point. So I have to export something out of this system into as a CSV file. Then I have to sit inside a spreadsheet editor, Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, and manipulate that data, and then I have to put it into the next system. And the models clearly show you where that's going on, and you can create visualizations of that specific thing. And for me personally, that becomes a key focus around automation. It's if I foresee lots of that, I have great empathy for the person involved in doing that work, especially if they've been there for a very, very long time in an organization. And those are the things that I think are multi-dimensional in terms of value. You can speed the cycle time up from request to output, but you can take that work away from somebody. But the other things that happen are increase in the quality of the data, because human beings get bored, and they also get blinded by the work that they do when they do it repetitively, and we can transpose numbers quite easily, and the downstream consequence of that could be credit notes or incorrect billing, that kind of thing. So yeah, spotting the human as the integrator is a key thing for me, and I think the models make that just blindingly obvious.
And also, we forget the ripple effect that this might cause. So if we improve all those things that you very nicely mentioned, this will reduce the cost, but also it will show to the customers the outcome is better. We're going to have a better result, so the customer will be happier in the end.
Absolutely. There is a direct connection, I think, to efficient, well-managed process that has accurate data inside an organization and that intersect with the customer journey, and therefore a direct relationship with customer satisfaction. So if you're in an industry servicing customers, I think automation is one of those things that can provide a force multiplier inside the organization in terms of efficiency and capacity that ultimately has a direct impact on customer satisfaction. So there's a really good reason for wanting to look at it, right? No, excellent. So I don't think we can kind of touch on this conversation about automation and robotic process automation without also talking about AI, right?
Yes.
AI is a conversation that comes up all of the time. So can you maybe, based on your experience, I know you've worked in both of these areas, can you just draw some comparisons or some differentiators for us between RPA and then using AI for automation? And let's just kind of
Sure.
cover that off.
Sure. The key difference between the two is that RPA is the best in order to automate repetitive rule-based tasks that you already know exactly what the steps are going to be, have the logic outlined, and there is no human decision involved whatsoever. AI, on the other hand, can make, based on your rules that you've set, which are prompts basically, can develop for you the responses, which my professional opinion is always needed to be confirmed by a human in the end. So what I'm trying to say is that we can use RPA in order to gather data from our ERP software, edit them on an Excel spreadsheet, and then upload it to our accounting or CRM system. This can be done because it's rule-based. We get the information of a specific business, and we just manipulate those information from there, and we then populate the respective fields of another tool. With AI, we can use different. We can perform analysis. We can generate drafts. We can generate text or generate other assets, for example, in order to create reports, in order to draft emails, in order to create other stuff that we want to perform next. So imagine having to analyze data in order to create a report that you're going to need to send to a customer. Mm-hmm. This, for example, has to happen with AI because RPA doesn't have the intelligence in order to use and the access to models in order to develop those reports, for example.
So one thing you've kind of raised there is that there must be a speed difference as well in terms of your ability to generate an outcome. If it's rule-based with RPA, there's very little coding to be done. That you have to define the rules, obviously, in a workflow. But to have an AI capable of delivering the outcome that you think you want, there's a bit more investment that's needed. So I think that's a key thing to raise as well. Is maybe the speed of implementation today.
I'm not entirely sure about this because it depends on the workload. There are AI tasks, or if you want to say, we can raise the agentic AI operations that we can develop that could be developed at the same time, same duration, like an RPA project would take. It depends because in robotic process automation, for example, we need to consider exception handling and errors in corner cases that the automation should have in mind in order not to deliver scenarios that are not from the main scenario.
Sure.
We want to model for them. The AI, on the other hand, has the intelligence, you want to say, or whatever, in order to be able to identify those itself and deliver those outcomes. That's not. I'm not saying that AI is very easy to implement and very quick. We have to be very cautious when we use both technologies. That those we need to deliver them in a timely manner and.
Yeah, sure.
It had the investment that it requires.
I'm just going to throw something up as shared screen, just for a second. I think so. This is my. You and I talked about this a couple of days ago as we were getting ready for this, and we both found this cartoon on LinkedIn, and I think it describes the current situation about AI really well. Everybody wants it, but they don't really know what they want it to do, but they want it right now. And I think this is a serious consideration, for people. Our experience with AI is I currently am treating it like a 7-year-old toddler. Today, it might do exactly the thing that you would like it to do. And tomorrow, it can ignore you entirely and just go off and do whatever it wants to do. And we found that with our own work of introducing AI into LINQ. It is not very good at interpreting data without embellishing the outcome because of the way that it has been taught to communicate and to write content. Even with well-guided prompts, it can just start adding, adjectives into a story to make it sound better than it really is. It doesn't necessarily immediately understand the baseline. So there's a lot of training that has to go on from our side, where we get to show it what good looks like, and then what bad / not so good looks like. So it has the comparison, but then it has to be able to understand how to relate one thing that you've taught it to another thing that you've taught it. So there's actually an ongoing process that has to happen in order to not just rely on the large language models that exist, but the latest thing is MCP servers, which is Model Context Protocol servers, and they are really the guide rail for localizing data for AI and telling it what you are offering, so that agents who understand how to interact with these MCP servers can make requests, understand the specificity around that request, and then get good responses back. And I think that this is the technology that needs to advance, so that we can move away from this kind of meme situation that we find ourselves in today. So I'll stop sharing that now. But I think that's quite funny. Yeah.
I think that there are two very important aspects that everybody has to think, and I think that this is the need for, apart from the fact that businesses want to integrate AI now without knowing what exactly they're going to use AI for, is to use professionals and experienced people like myself on this, because one of the things that we can offer is the identification of which model is best for which scenario. And there is a very good way that you can handle and identify which model would be best for each use case. And apart from that, the creation of prompts that aren't going to hallucinate that much, and they're going to be narrow enough in order to provide you with the result that you want, but wide enough in order to provide you with a varied kind of results. So it doesn't sound robotic, it doesn't sound AI, that most of the texts that are generated by AI look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a prediction engine at the end of the day, right, for language. So it's looking at other conversations that have taken place, like the one that you're having with it, and it's trying to predict the answer, and that's how they're generating results at the moment. I think there's some way to go before we have these more free thinking AIs that operate like we do, and thankfully that leaves a nice space for the likes of you and I to still offer our expertise with organizations. Hey, look, I want to highlight a thing that you do on LinkedIn, which is you write your newsletter, the Automation Architects. I'm going to put the link up in the chat. One of the recent articles you wrote earlier this month kind of caught my eye, which is your 7 steps to managing an automation project. So you go through ideation and feasibility checking, defining the clear objective and scope, choosing the right tools and team, mapping the process, designing the solution, test, review and adjust, go live and monitor performance, and then plan for maintenance and scaling. And that they make complete sense when you read them. I wanted to dig in a bit to choosing the right tools and teams. So what can you share with people who are thinking about this, want to get started? Where are good resources in terms of going and looking for tools? And what can you say about making sure you've got the right people? Because if you don't have the capability internally, but you've got the right tools, I guess it can go quite wrong. So yeah, little plug for your own expertise here as well. But please offer some advice around where people can go and research and what type of tools are you seeing out there that help?
Well, the first part is avoiding what we just saw on that meme. Don't go straight to the technology that you just want to utilize because it's currently vibing. We should organizations basically should start with their business needs and not the hype. We should look first of all into the tools that they are currently using and how they are integrating with the other tools that they want to use. Are there API connections? Are the tools that they are currently using legacy tools and require RPA technology in order to be able to extract that information from there? Are there direct links between the applications that we want to involve in our models? So it's very important in order to identify which tools the company will use to identify what we are working with. Now, it is a very important, like imagine it as a town, which locations we need to connect in order to form those bridges and identify what our city is going to look like. Now, in the AI space, the flood of tools makes it a bit more tempting to experiment, and this is exactly why you need to find and focus on the tool that you want to use, and that's where digital transformation consultants come in, and it's a very important part of the team that you suggested earlier that we have to form. The best teams blend both the business aspect and the technical aspect. So we need to have the process owners, those that identify and know exactly how the operation should work. Of course, there should be also automation specialists that would suggest some changes, but sometimes the process owners will identify that the suggestions the process specialists and the automation specialists would make wouldn't work due to various other reasons that aren't shared. So it's very important to have a team and a blend discussion in order to be able to make the smoother and most successful map that would next be automated. Another aspect of the team thing is the fact that you are basically involving in this the people who are currently utilizing this. One of the very important things that we want to cover here is the fact that we're not looking to replace them. We're looking to free up some of the time of them and remove the mundane and repetitive things from what they do. Basically help them. That way, you're going to remove that kind of friction that there might be or resistance from the business, the internal resistance, let's say, in order to have the smoothest transition to an automated era to the business.
So one point I think I would add over the top of this is the need for very good, robust change management. I'm working with an organization at the moment where the change management could be better, and the result of it not being quite as good as it could or should be is that people put up barriers. We remain quite a change adverse species. People like to carry on doing the things that they know, and defenses can go up when people come along and start talking about changing the way that people work if the context hasn't been set. And that is to avoid it becoming political inside an organization, you need a change manager who is socializing the reason for the change and helping the people who are impacted understand that this doesn't mean that their job is on the line. I probably can safely say in 100% of the work that I've done over the last 10 years using LINQ, I've never found an individual who has spare time. Time is our most precious resource, and so if you can actually give people time back, and you can let them reduce the amount of content in their inbox, it's a really good thing to do, and that you don't achieve the efficiencies by saying you're going to get rid of people. So I think the change management piece becomes critical as part of this whole conversation. So I think if you are going to start a modeling exercise and with an anticipation of automating work inside the business, that should be embedded within a change management project with a change manager. Otherwise, I think you're doomed from the start. Ends up being about people, right? At the end of the day, if you don't bring the people on the journey with you, then it doesn't matter how good the solution is or the technology you're using. It's likely to fail because of the human aspect of people just saying no and not doing the thing that you want them to do because you haven't consulted them. So, do you find the same?
Definitely, I think that the change of automation and even process mapping in order to improve an operation that might not be automated, but it's going to just be changed, should be embraced within the business. So, and that involves both the upper management and the actual employees who are operating this day to day.
No, excellent. So we've been going for about 40 minutes. We've got James Stelios and Vasalis on the call here. We've got a Q&A. I should have mentioned it right at the beginning. There's a Q&A option, but I've enabled your cameras and your microphones. If you got any questions or you want to, come in with a different perspective or offer something else that we haven't covered, please feel free to. We've got about 5 minutes or so. So yeah, it'd be great just to open the conversation up. If anyone's got anything, otherwise I've got one kind of final question for Marios.
Hello, guys.
Hey, James.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Yes.
I won't put my camera on because I'm in New Zealand as well, and I'm not really. But I just had a quick question around how quickly you might be able to go about modeling a fairly simple administrative process. So we kind of specialize in operations and kind of supporting manufacturers on the shop floor. So we'll often go and stand and watch a process for maybe a couple of hours, half a day to understand where the waste and kind of challenges and bottlenecks are. But we find it really hard when we start looking at administrative processes to kind of find out what's really going on and quantify the size of the opportunity. So right. Is it something that you could do quite quickly with some of the tools that you've talked about to model up if you picked a specific administrative process to understand what's going on there, or does it take a bit of time to model that out?
Let me give you a specific example. Admin task for a set of hairdressing salons in Australia. Cool. This is work that I did a couple of weeks ago. Four salons where the stylists are also required to manage bookings and payments. So they've got in-store walk-ins wanting to book, telephone calls for booking, and booking via the website, and then payments in-store, managing PayPal, managing EFTPOS machines, that kind of thing. I managed to model the process in 2 hours. And an extra couple of hours of just re-qualifying the data to give them some insights about the opportunity to implement a new booking and payment system, total time end-to-end, including putting the presentation together and delivering that to the customer was 10 hours of effort. The modeling was done in 2 hours. It was the other bit was that's the current state, was having to put a future state together, which I engaged with the technology providers to make sure that we had that right. So it can be really fast. In a couple of hours, you can capture enough content about admin tasks, including our financial reconciliations of invoices against payments, recruitment, staff onboarding, that kind of thing. You can get an awful lot done, and that is using LINQ, obviously, because that's the platform that we're selling, and we've designed it to be able to be almost, well, you can use it at pretty much at the speed of the conversation. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Neil. James, exactly. That's what Neil just said. I think that as long as it will take to describe the operation, the process that we're talking about to someone, and imagine that he would need some more time in order to, some longer pauses in order to keep some notes, I think that this would be the time required to create the mapping of a particular flow. Of course, keeping in mind that you have to be very thorough and detailed on the steps, and if there are any scenarios that are not any corner cases or any other things that the model should take into consideration.
That's brilliant. I think sometimes we'll hear a lot about the challenges or the painful processes, but it's really hard to quantify the size of the opportunity, so that then they can kind of, I don't know, make a decision around going to engage to put some RPA in, or kind of what the costs are. So that's fantastic to hear. Thank you.
No, happy to follow up afterwards, James, and we can do demo. So and I can show you directly some of the work that we've been doing.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, and Stelios and Vaselis, if you'd like to, please reach out to Marios, because I know he'd love the opportunity to show you some of the work that he's been doing with LINQ as well. So so there's no other questions. I've got one, I guess. Well, there's a question, Marios, which is if people don't have the current capacity or capability to do this work themselves, but they want to get started, what would they get from you? What do you bring to the table for them?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I bring an outside perspective, and this is always useful for businesses in order to have a third perspective on their process. It helps to identify the opportunities that may be obvious, that may not be obvious internally, but they might be very good points. But also, as I said, we need to have people from inside the business in order to comment and basically explain why something wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I also provide proven frameworks for process mapping, modeling, and automation delivery. I have experience with RPA AI and agentic AI and other solutions, so I can help the organizations to avoid costly trial and error, and guide them directly to the right tools for their particular use cases. But most importantly, I'll also act as a bridge, aligning the leadership goals with the day-to-day process realities, and basically make this transformation smooth and the change smooth as well.
Excellent. Well, I'd hire you. So, hey, I think we'll wrap it up. I put a few links in the chat for people, just to connect through to myself and Marios on LinkedIn, Marios's newsletter on LinkedIn, and our respective websites. There's only been 3 of you, but hey, I hope you found it useful. We will share the final video with people that signed up. Very much appreciate you taking the time. Please reach out to us if you've got any questions. And Marios, hey, thank you. It's been a real pleasure over the last 6 months or so getting to know you. I'm very much looking forward to coming to Greece to meet you in person, spending some time working and maybe some holiday as well in the sunshine.
There's an outstanding invitation, Neil, since a long time ago.
Absolutely. And then I'll happy to host you back here as well, and get you in front of some people here in New Zealand. But for now, thanks very much indeed. Appreciate your time, everybody. Stay safe, and we look forward to having an opportunity to talk with you again soon. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Neil, for the invitation.
No worries. Thanks, Mario.
Bye-bye.